Now everyone, it's time to spread a bit of movie cheer.
Welcome to the Movie Cheer Podcast, the show for movie fans. I am your host AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, and on today's edition of the Movie Cheer Pod, I will be discussing movie franchises that need a reboot. What are some of the franchises out there? Some big movie ones, even not even big ones, but ones that you feel that are worthy of getting that reboot treatment in the movies. So that is going to be today's headline topic. I've got 4 franchises to discuss, which I can't wait to get into on today's show. But before we get to today's headline topic, I like to start the show off with a segment called What's Been on the Screen.
Ooh, what's been on the screen? The screen. What's been on the screen?
What's been on the screen? What have I been watching over this past week, ladies and gents? Well, I've had a really fun week of watching movies, and I started off with the other day. I watched the first time, and this movie's been recommended and mentioned to me a few times by a few different people, and that is Godzilla Minus One. It was on, it came out last year in 2023. And it's the Japanese version of Godzilla, the release. Obviously, we have the release. Is it Universal who do it now over here? The Godzilla versus Kong movies, or I think it's Warner Brothers, isn't it? It's Warner Brothers. They do the American releases, but then you have Toho who do all like the classic Godzilla releases. I think they've done them pretty much since the dawn of time. I'm pretty sure since like the 50s, 60s. But I've admittedly never watched the Japanese Godzilla movie, and I wanted to watch the Shin Godzilla and never got around to watching that. That came out a couple of years back, and that was a few people recommended that to me as well. But never got around to watching that. And Minus One is one that I just thought, you know what, I want to get in on this movie. I want to watch it, see what it's like. And I watched it on streaming the other day. And man, just first of all, I'll just say, absolutely fantastic movie. This is a movie that won a load of Oscars it won, I think, like, for the visual effects at the Oscars, which was brilliant. I think it was like I'm pretty sure it was like a first like foreign movie, like non-Americanized Hollywood movie that won like loads of awards for the visual effects, which I think is awesome as well. I may be wrong though, I'm pretty sure that's the case. But yeah, let's talk about the movie. I'm going to go into spoilers with the movie. So if you haven't watched it, obviously, spoilers ahead, ladies and gents. So this movie, the premise of the story is this: it's set in World War II. It's set. The reason why it's called Minus One is because it's minus one. The very first Godzilla movie that's in like the 50s. It's meant to be set before that, so it's like minus one Godzilla movie. Apparently, that's the explanation as to why it's called Minus One. But it's kind of like basically the telling of Godzilla, and during like World War II, there's this fighter pilot. It starts off the movie, and he's a kamikaze pilot for Japan. And he basically doesn't want to be a kamikaze pilot. He doesn't want to. If you know what a kamikaze pilot is, it's basically they just go and blow themselves up into like warships during the World War. And that's what he is. And he basically says he's got engine failure on this small island. And the engineers check him, and they realise he's basically faking it because he's a bit of a coward. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do his duty, which I think is quite. To be honest with you, I think I'd be the same. But He basically, he doesn't do his duty during war, and he feels then like he has let people down. But during this, and he's on this island, and then basically Godzilla attacks this small island and kills like pretty much all the engineers apart from this one pilot and this one engineer. And he has the chance to shoot at Godzilla in his plane, but he can't do it because he's that scared. And then the story of it basically is he goes back to his hometown, his home city, and basically he has to deal with the fact that he kind of let himself down. He feels like people basically don't like him at first because he feels like he's betrayed his country. He feels like he's let people down because he didn't go to war and didn't do his duty. And it's very much like a redemption story. It's very much, I feel like if you watch how much Godzilla is on screen during this movie, it is very little. But the story really is great from the characters aspect of the story, this redemption story, this guy who wants to really just make up for the mistake of not doing his duty during the war. And it comes to the finale where he ends up, killing Godzilla. He ends up like flying a plane into Godzilla's face, and he escapes with a jetpack with an escape seat, which the mechanic who was on the island, who thought he was a disgrace at first, fitted this thing to, because he was haunted by the fact that Godzilla had killed all these people as well. So big redemption story. I think it's a fantastic story throughout. It's a really good score. I felt the story is great. I watched it with the subtitles on because I thought, I know you can watch the dub of it, but I thought I'd rather watch with the subtitles, hearing like the actual language. I really enjoyed it. And I think it is an absolutely stunning movie. And like I said, Godzilla for me, the main thing I liked about this was it had that vibe for me of the first Jurassic Park movie where you're genuinely terrified of the T-Rex when it shows up. And it had that feel to me. When Godzilla turned up, I was watching it, I'm like, blimey, I feel genuinely like fearful of this Godzilla. Whereas the Americanized one, I don't really feel that as much. It's weird, isn't it? I think maybe it's just the way they've made it on screen. And I think that's perfect, the way that they made it kind of a bit more mysterious at times, not showing it too much. And I think that's what works with a villain, like a monster villain like this. And yeah, it was great. The destruction with Godzilla was great. And just the whole story of that movie, I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to checking out. I want to check out Shin Godzilla now. But yeah, I was speaking to a few people afterwards, like John from Mondo Cello Vet Movie. He said, yeah, same again. He really enjoyed it. A few people, like my buddy Matt, he mentioned it and he said it was great as well. So yeah, cracking movie, well worth checking out. Godzilla Minus One. Next up, I went to the cinema this past weekend. I went and watched Fall Guy with the Fall Guy with my buddy Matt, and this is the new Ryan Gosling movie and Emily Blunt starring them two. You also got Aaron Taylor Johnson in there. Basically, it's directed by David Leitch, who directed the first John Wick. He did Hobbs and Shaw, Deadpool 2. I think he did like Atomic Blonde as well. A bunch of them movies, Bullet Train. Really good director, great at them stunts. And so The Fall Guy is an adaptation of a TV show from the 80s. I had never heard of this TV show, but apparently it run for like 5 seasons. And yeah, I don't know how popular it was in the 80s, but this is a US TV show. Basically, the premise of the story for the movie anyway, Ryan Gosling plays this character called Colt Seavers, who's a stunt worker. Stunt worker, yeah, that's the right word. Is it a stunt? Yeah, a stunt performer. That's the correct word. So he does all the stunts for the actors during the movies, and he plays opposite Aaron Taylor Johnson's character called Sam Ryder, and Ryan Gosling's character is his stunt double. Basically, spoilers for the story. Basically, has an accident early on in the story, breaks his back, and then a few years later, he gets pulled into this story, and he's the love interest of Emily Blunt's character, who's now a director on this new movie. And basically, they get him into the story because the actor, Sam Ryder, the one played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, he goes missing, and he's like involved with some shady dealings. So they get Colt's character, Ryan Gosling, to try and find his mate, his guy who's his stunt double for years. Goes on this hunt for him, and he gets involved in like this dark world, this dark mystery of this whole story. And it's just a really cracking story. It's just basically unfolding the truth to what's happened to his friend, why he's went missing, and getting to the bottom of that. But throughout, you get some really, I think what is really cool, it starts off with the very first song is Kiss, I Was Made for Loving You. It starts off at the start of the movie. And then throughout the movie, it does different renditions, like orchestral renditions, like acoustic versions of that song. I am a big Kiss fan. I love that song. I think it's a cracking song. And I love the whole different renditions throughout the movie, which are really great. But it's got a very, like a rock track. It had like The Darkness on there, AC/DC, some really cracking tracks. I think there was a Taylor Swift song in there if you're a Swiftie as well. I didn't even know it was Taylor Swift until I saw the credits at the end. But it is a really fun movie. I think it felt like, for me, there was a bit during it where I felt like the middle portion was a bit flat for a period, maybe like 20 minutes or so. I felt like it's a bit it's not great. But then it gets to the final act, like, and I was just like sold. I thought this is fun. The stunts are like over the top because it's highlighting stunt workers, stunt performers in movies. So you can expect loads of like over the top explosions, stunts going on. The end scene is fantastic. Just like epic stunts going on like everywhere, explosions everywhere, car chases, and yeah, it's just a really cracking movie. And it's him trying to just like basically he then gets like done for a murder cult, and he's trying to like clear his name throughout this story, which is really fun. But yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it did really that well at the box office, this movie, but it was fun. I think it was a great movie, great score, and I think it's just like the fight scenes were all really exciting and really fresh, which I thought really worked well. And I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling. Since Drive, I've always been a fan of his. And this is another superb film from Ryan Gosling. Can't go wrong with it. Well worth checking out. The Fall Guy. Next up, one more movie I want to talk about here is Tetris, the Tetris movie. This came out, I think it was last year, and it's based in the 1980s. I think it's based in, what year was it? 1988. And it's the story of the video game Tetris. And it's starring Taron Egerton. He plays this character called Hank Rogers. Bulletproof Software, this company in the late 80s, who basically tried to buy the rights for the game Tetris, which was from Russia during this was like the Cold War was going on at this point. So basically, they were really very much against like selling products to the rest of the world. So it managed to get out, but then there was a big issue about all the rights and stuff. Now I don't know how much of this story is accurate, but I'll tell you what, it was a really fun story. It had a really cool 80s soundtrack through it. And I loved the story. So it's like basically this guy, Hank Rogers, this American software publisher. I think he was Dutch actually, but he was brought up in America. And you see him just going back into Russia, and then the Russian government are after him. He's like risking his own life with all this secret like services, secret police. And it is such a really engaging story, a really good story. And I thought for a video game, which I'll be honest, I really like Tetris. It's one game I've always enjoyed just playing. It's just a game I can chill out to. And it's just a really interesting story to see. And I hope a lot of that story is genuinely true, because it was a very good story. I think it's just, if you like video games, I think it's just that interest of finding out where that video game come to be and what was the origin of the story. Because I think it's very much a very... I think you have to be a fan of video games to really enjoy it, because I think otherwise it could be any product and you just kind of like... It's like if there was a movie about the origin story of an air fryer, I would have zero interest, because why would I be interested in seeing an air fryer origin story? I think you've got to be a fan of video games or have some form of interest in video games to enjoy this movie, if I'm being honest. I think if you do, you'll take away a lot from it, and you'll be like, yeah, this was great, and it was interesting to see how this game made it overseas, and you see the origin of the Game Boy, how it became the that number one selling game with the Game Boy at the time, and it's a very good story, and there's a lot of ongoings behind the scenes where there's a lot of dodgy dealings between these two companies, and then you go through the Russian government, and it's just a really cool story. So well worth checking out Tetris. It was on Apple TV. I'll be honest, I got a free service for Apple TV because I bought a new phone a few months back. And Apple TV is just really not great for movies. There's hardly any movies on there worthwhile watching. If you can recommend some movies or TV shows on there where you're like, I think Mark mentioned that Masters of Air. Maybe that's one TV show I'd be interested in watching. Apart from that, I can't see much on there. I need to, if there's any movies worth checking out, let me know. Mainly movies more so I can just digestible, get a movie in. Let me know your thoughts. But that's what I've been watching over the past couple of weeks. Ladies and gents, let's move on to today's headline topic.
The Movie Cheer Podcast presents the headline topic for the episode.
Remember to spread a bit of
headline topic. Headline topic.
Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer.
So today's headline topic, movie franchises that need a reboot. Please reboot these franchises, these big film companies. So yeah, I've got 4 picks today, 4 franchises, some big, some small. It's just kind of just a mixed genre of movie franchises I thought could easily do with a reboot. And I think this is one where there was a lot of franchises as well I missed out on. I could definitely do a round 2 and a round 3 of this, and I'm certainly sure I will get around to doing that. But yeah, let's start off though with, first of all, with one franchise that I'm a big fan of, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. You're a wizard, Harry. The last movie came out, 2011 now? So it's a good, over 13 years, nearly getting on for 15 years now since that last movie came out. Definitely Hallows Part 2. Big fan of the franchise. I really enjoyed them growing up, watching their movies, and yeah, big fan of the Wizarding World. You know, they have the spin-offs. Well, first of all, the end of that really was it was final, but it felt like they could easily have done some stories. You know, at the end of that movie was they're taking the kids to their first day at Hogwarts, and that's where it ends. Now, since then, we've had the Cursed Child screenplay that came out, and it was like a theatre show across the world, and I think it was really, a lot of people like that. I've never read much about it. I've kind of got a gist of the story, but whether they would do anything more, I know J.K. Rowling is a bit of a divisive figure, I suppose, nowadays. So whether they would do anything with her or they just write a fresh movie, I don't know who has the say-so in that, whether it's Warner Brothers or it is her, she has an involvement. But I would love to see a reboot with, I think, a bit of a combination of kind of having the original cast returning, of Harry Potter, them 3 central figures, Hermione, Ron, and Harry, and then maybe involving the children in some way in the story as well. I think you've got to have that original cast there to kind of passing of the torch moment as well, and I think what they were kind of lacking at times with the Star Wars trilogy, the sequel trilogy, I think not having too much of the original casting was a detriment to it in a way. And I think that's what they would have to do. That's what I would like to see, having that original cast there. And I know, obviously, you like to Robbie Coltrane. Forget his name, who plays Snape. God, it's going to bother me that from Die Hard. Obviously, the original, the Dumbledore, the second act, Michael Gambon, sadly, them 3 have sadly all passed away. So, I mean, do you do a recasting or just write them characters out, potentially? It's a hard one, but it's one where I would love to see this franchise rebooted, set about 20 years, or, set a couple of years after that original story, kind of picking up maybe a couple of years after the ending of that movie. I would love to see it, and it's a shame because they've tried to do more with the Wizarding World. They've tried to do the Fantastic Beasts movies. I thought the first one was really good, but then it kind of just went a bit off. The last one wasn't that great. Didn't do much for me. I know they're meant to be doing the TV reboot of the Harry Potter, but have you watched the Lord of the Rings TV show? That is absolute garbage, if I'm being honest. I just have no interest in seeing a TV reboot. And maybe there is a younger generation out there now who's never watched the movies or wasn't brought up with the movies who kind of got quite interested in seeing that. I would much prefer, and I think the series, the TV show, will end up lasting a couple of seasons maybe, and it'll go the same way with this Lord of the Rings one, where it's probably going to go and get cancelled after two or 3 seasons. The money is in these big movies. These movies make a lot of money. Imagine if they do a brand new Harry Potter movie, how much money it would make. It would make probably $1 billion. And it's not to say it's all about money. It's got to be a right story as well. You've got to have the right story there. But providing they had a good story, I would love to see a new trilogy. I really would. I think when you hear about the likes of Lord of the Rings doing more Lord of the Rings movies now with the original cast, I don't like the idea of that because the original writer is long passed away. And for me, that is cemented. That is the story. But with Harry Potter, I feel like because the original, writer is still alive, and it is very much a current, last 20 years this came out, I feel like they can add to the story and add to the lore of Harry Potter more. And I don't think it goes against the grain of what Harry Potter is if they add more to the story now. So I would definitely love to do it. I'd love to see. Well, I'd love to do it. I'd love to write it. No, I don't think I'd like to write it. I wouldn't like that responsibility. But I would certainly like to see a reboot. And I think, like I said, bringing in that younger cast, but having them work in combination with the older cast members, the original cast members, to really create a good story. I'd love to see it, and I think it will happen one day. I'm fairly certain of that. I think it's so big of a franchise, you can't not make any more Harry Potter movies. Right, surely. But anyway, Harry Potter, that's my first choice. The next choice I wanted to talk about, another franchise that I feel needs a reboot, is Robocop. Now, Robocop came out, the first movie came out in 1987. It had several sequels after that, which weren't very successful. But the first Robocop movie, first of all, let's talk about that. 1987, Paul Verhoeven directing, great director. Peter Weller as Murphy, aka Robocop, and it is one of my favourite movies out there. I think it's an absolute amazing film. The effects of it for a movie of the time look brilliant. I think the villain in it is great. I think the action scenes are phenomenal, and it is really gruesome, especially that scene when he's getting shot up for that time before he becomes Robocop. It is really gruesome, and it really, even to this day, I go like, wow, that's violent. That's really violent. But yeah, Robocop is a movie I would love to see rebooted, and I think for many reasons. I think now you've had that most recent video game that came out, and it was really popular, and it looked really great. We had the remake a few years back. It actually came out 2014, so I say a few years back. It's 10 years ago now. The remake just didn't hit with me. It was kind of like they were trying to do Iron Man meets Robocop. It just didn't work. Totally new cast. I think what you've got to do is reboot the original first movie. Because Peter Weller weren't in all of the sequels. I think he was in the second one, but then they recast Peter Weller as Murphy. I think you've got to do a movie that is kind of forgets the sequels, do a movie set from the basis of the first movie, and there's two ways that you do this. Right, so you do Peter Weller as an older version of Robocop, set 40 years later. Where is Robocop up to now in modern day, or whatever year, 40 years from the original movie? Yeah. You either do it that way, or you do Robocops. You've got me, Robocop. So you have two versions of Robocop. You have Peter Weller's Robocop, Murphy, and then you have a new Robocop. Someone who's had a similar story. They get shot up, and then they have to become the new Robocop. They put him in the suit, and then you've got him as the mentor of Robocop. Like the Murphy is the old version of Robocop, and then you have that new upgraded version of Robocop, and he's showing in the ropes, and then you have like this sort of like double act of Robocops taking on the villains in this story. I think it would be absolutely amazing. I really like the idea of that, if I'm being honest, more so having that kind of, but I think I'd still like to see Peter Weller take center stage more, and to get like a really good director on board. Like, who's the guy who did the Dune movie? He did Sicario. I can't think of his name, but that guy, or I was going to say Christopher Nolan, but I don't know whether he would, maybe I don't know whether Christopher Nolan would be the right fit, really. But I think there's got to get a really good director on board who can do science fiction really good in action. Even, you know what, I think like David Leitch, who actually did The Fall Guy and Hobbs and Shaw and Deadpool 2, I think he'd actually be a really good fit, actually. Because he's done John Wick, he'd be great at doing the stunt scenes and stuff like that. I think that would be actually a really good choice. I'd like to see that. So I'd love to see that. Robocop reboot, I think it'd be cracking to see. Next up, the next series I want to talk about is one movie series that made me laugh more than any movie series. This is the movie series that has got the most laughs out of me of all time. And that movie series is American Pie. It has 4 mainline movies. It has a bunch of spin-off movies as well. Talking about the mainline series, though, the last one came out, American Pie 4, American Reunion, came out in 2012. There has been talks about a sequel happening over the years and whether there'll be a new one. And I'm sure it will, because I think the last one, it had like a budget of $50 million and it made about $250 million. at the box office. So it's a low budget movie, but they can make a lot of money, these movies. Them movies though, like I said, the 90s, they were... I don't think I'm not too sure whether I was allowed to watch them at a certain point, and then I got to a certain point where I was allowed to watch the American Pie movies, and that first one is just so funny. There's so many scenes. I think the scenes between Jim and his dad are the funniest scenes in that movie, especially with the pie. And obviously, I'm not going to go too much into it because I like to keep it PG on here. But when he after he does some activities with the pie, and then he says, "We'll just tell your mum we ate it." It just cracks me up every time. But I would like to see. So that last one, they were kind of just having kids and stuff like that. So they were having like a reunion. So 12 years later now, probably 15, 16 years later, once the movie's been filmed. So say you set the movie like 15 years later, and they're having another catch up. And you could do this one of two ways. You could just do it as a pure sequel to see where the original gang is up to. I think that would work. But I also think as well, having the introduction of some younger actresses and actors as the kids of them original characters, introducing them in there as well. And you could, I'm sure, if you get some really good comedy up-and-comers in there, you could have some more fun moments, involve some of them older characters, interactions with the new ones, create some new scenes where it's kind of like they're the mature characters now, and it's kind of like Jim is now Jim's dad, basically, and he's got a young kid who's doing similar stuff to what he was doing back in the day. I think it would be quite good to see that reverse sort of scene and see like how he would react to that, like with something similar. And to see obviously like the likes of Stifler, him return, or Finch, all these characters, Stifler's mum, Jim's dad. I think it would be a great movie to see. I do hope they do, because honestly, I think there's certain movies out there can really, affect your mood and really lighten you up. And American Pie for me is certainly them movies. I can watch them movies, and I think it's a lot of the nostalgia now as well, because you listen back to them, you're in like them sort of like punk soundtracks from like the 90s, your Blink-182s, there's loads of them like Offspring, them sort of musicians and bands playing on there. And I was never a huge fan of them, but like in them movies, the music really kind of like fitted really well. And I can remember a lot of them songs from a movie. And when you hear them on the radio, if you ever just hear them on Spotify or something, I feel like I get a lot of nostalgia for American Pie, and it brings me back to thinking about them movies and how funny they were. And every single one was really good. I think like American Pie 1, classic. American Pie 2, just as good. American Pie 3 was very different. You had a few more cast members, but American Wedding was amazing. It was a really fun movie. It felt like probably the most different one because it had a bit of a different cast. But then American Reunion was just like the original cast back there again. Basically the same, antics of the first movie. And these are grown-up adults. And now to see them 15 years later, now where they're in like probably the 40s, I think it would be great to see. I really do hope they do one at some point. I think it would be a huge mistake if they didn't do another American Pie. I'm sure it'll happen. Whether it's only maybe one more we get or two more. I think if they do a new American Pie every like 10, 15 years, and just to see just like the antics of these characters pretty much through the whole life. From high school is a really cool thing to see. So I'm really hoping that we get that reboot. But I think you can, like I said, you can do it as a sequel, but you can do it as a bit of a reboot where you introduce some of them younger characters and then follow that story. Maybe then they kind of like take the mantle in future movies potentially. But that's what I'd like to see. Finally, the final choice I want to discuss today though is the Star Trek movie series. Began on the 2009, the J.J. Abrams directed movie. It spawned 3 movies in this Kelvin timeline, so it's a reboot. It was a reboot of the original show with new cast members: Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto as Spock and Kirk, and this new rebooted universe. It's in an alternative timeline to the original show, and then obviously we had the original Leonard Nimoy as Spock coming into this from his timeline, which was really cool. Nice little connections to the original show. Look, I'll be honest, I've never been a Star Trek fan. I've never really watched the TV show. I've seen bits and pieces, but never been a fan. But them movies are amazing. The first 2 especially, though. I know the Into Darkness one gets a lot of stick. I like that movie. I think it was good. The first one was the best, though, definitely. The third one was so forgettable for me. It was really forgettable. They got Jushin Lin in directing instead of J.J. Abrams. And it felt like they were just trying to do Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were doing it well already. They were doing the first two movies were great. The feel of it, and then they just kind of went in. It didn't feel like the first two movies. I think what they need to do now is reboot it, do it fresh. Now I think it's going to be hard because there's obviously Leonard Nimoy has long passed away now. Is it Anthony or Anton Yelkin who played one of the main characters in that? He passed away before the release of the third movie. So you're going to have to bring in a few more cast members, but I think do it as another bit of a reboot. I would personally get J.J. Abrams back. I know he's not done much directing in the past few years, movie-wise. I would get him back because it worked well for the first two movies. Get him back on board, either as a writer, producer, or director. Personally, I'd rather have him as a director because I think he's a good director and it works well for Star Trek. Then maybe, look, I've been looking at it today. I don't know where these characters lie. So I think Picard is, like, obviously Picard, that character in The Next Generation. I think his character wouldn't fit in if they kind of featured his character in this movie, but I think just introduce some new characters in there. There must be some characters from the original show they can pull in from, like, some sort of B-list characters and make some really cool characters in there. Make a new story, do something really fun with it, and make it more like the original first movie, which really worked well. Go back to start and just reboot that franchise. There was talk for years that Chris Hemsworth, who plays Kirk's dad in the first movie, because apparently he was meant to go for the Kirk role, which went to Chris Pine. He was meant to go for that role, and there was talks for a couple of years, that they were going to try and do some sort of time travel movie where his dad comes back in it because he obviously passed away, saves all the people and gives his life to save his son and everyone on the ship in the first movie, in the beginning of the first movie. There was talk of him coming back to do something like that. But yeah, I think they just need to do something fresh, do a reboot now, do kind of like this new mission they're going to go on and the new story. But don't follow it on from the last one. Do something fresh, like, Star Trek, New Horizons, whatever you want to call it, and just do something different with the franchise, but also give it a feel of that first movie. Reboot it. You don't have to recast all these main characters. Quinto, Pine, they are great. You've got some great characters in there, playing them original characters from the TV show. Carl Urban's in there. Zoe Saldana. What a great cast there. You don't need to recast them main characters because you've got spot-on actors there. Cast in a few more people, get a new movie on the go, reboot that series, give us a new rebooted trilogy, continue that movie series. That is a series I would love to see rebooted as a franchise. But anyway, these are the 4 movie franchises I'd like to see rebooted. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on this and let me know some of the choices that you'd like to see rebooted. Anyway, let's move on with the rest of the show.
Case covers take on other case covers. Can you handle that?
Case cover collision. Case cover collision.
Case cover collision. Each and every episode I choose a different movie and look at the different case covers for that movie and put them up against each other to find out which one is the best on Case Cover Collision. Now, on this episode of the Case Cover Collision, I will be looking at the movie Anchorman that is celebrating 20 years old this year. It came out in 2024. Sorry, it came out in 2004, celebrating 20 years this year in 2024, which is great. Honestly, talk about Anchorman first of all. Will Ferrell starring, Paul Rudd in there, Steve Carell. Absolutely one of the most funniest movies over the past 20 years. I really enjoyed the sequel as well. I didn't like the sequel on the first watch, but then a few watches later, I've been like, yeah, this is a really funny movie as well. The first one, though, for me, is still the best. It is just a hilarious movie. I remember having it on a bootleg for years. And then I had a bootleg copy, and then finally I got a real copy. I remember making my own custom case for it from cdcovers.cc, that website from back in the day. And yeah, man, I finally got it. I've got it in the collection behind me somewhere. And yeah, it's a really fun movie. I think Will Ferrell for me is a really funny character actor. Him in that prime of that year, a couple of years after that, you got the likes of Step Brothers as well, which was another fantastic film, comedy movie. But they are celebrating the 20th anniversary with a 4K release, and I've got the DVD, a Blu-ray, and a 4K to discuss today. So let's hit first of all with the upcoming 4K release, which is coming out, I think, in August, I believe. And this is the 4K collector's edition and of the 20th anniversary of Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. And nice little set here, but let's look at this case cover. So first of all, we got Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy on the front cover in this really stylish red suit with a yellow shirt and this stripy blue and white tie. He's got them sort of like maverick sunglasses as well, the aviator sunglasses, which I really like. I think I've got a pair over here, actually. They're my style of glasses. Sporting that mustache, which is really cool. He's got his really stylish hair, and he's looking into the distance. He's got his cup with a Channel 4 news team cup on, the blue mug, and he's just looking into the distance. There's a mid shot of him. In the background, you've got like this yellow backdrop with the Channel 4 news station, news team, like logos in the background. Above that, you've got this red bar where it says the 20th anniversary Stay Classy edition in white bold text and above him. And then below him on his chest, it says Will Ferrell in white text. And then in another white text, a larger text, you've got the Anchorman text for the movie. And then underneath in a yellow colour, we've got the Legend of Ron Burgundy. I like this. I think it's a really bold cover. I think it would have been cool to see some of the other characters because I think it really is an ensemble, this movie. But I think it works. Everyone knows you see Ron Burgundy here, you know the movie, you know this is Anchorman. So I think it works. I like the colours. I think it's a really nice, bright colours, really, because I think a lot of the other colours with the other releases over the year kind of went for that blue theme, but they went for a very different theme here of colours, and the red and yellow. I think it works well. It matches with the suit. And I like this cover. I think it's a nice release. Nothing too special, but I think it works for this movie. Now let's move to a Blu-ray release. Now I think this is once already out, this Blu-ray. It came out a few years ago. This is the Blu-ray release. It's a rich mahogany. A rich mahogany release. So this is the Blu-ray release. It's a steelbook. And on the front cover it says steelbook, and it is a rich mahogany. Literally mahogany look to this, the backdrop of this case cover, which I really, really like. I've never seen any type of movie release as a mahogany cover. I love that. I absolutely love it. Then you've got Ron Burgundy just in his sort of like what would you say, like a purplish red suit. Different suit from the first one. He's no sunglasses this time. He's got his mustache. He's just looking straight, eyes like really wide open, looking into the camera. And it's like he's in this sort of like it looks like a badge, like a sort of like a shield. And it's like, you can see the shield hanging down like it's like a necklace on this mahogany. And he's looking in the camera. Underneath, you've got Will Ferrell, the name Will Ferrell, and Anchorman, the Legend of Ron Burgundy, in this grey sort of silver white gradient effect to the text. Really bold text. And then underneath that, in this sort of like what would you say, like a little badge sort of area. Well, do you know you get like football badges? It says like the crest. That's it. It's the crest, and it says "I'm kind of a big deal" in white text. I love that. I think it looks like it's like a football badge, like a coat of armor for Ron Burgundy and Anchorman. Again, it's just him on the front cover, but I really like this. I love the mahogany look. I think it looks great. It's really original, something different, and obviously giving a reference to the rich mahogany line from the movie. I like this. I think it's a stunning cover. And for me, so far, I've got to be honest here, the Blu-ray is winning it over the 4K. I think it's a cracking cover, this. I think it looks fantastic. Now we're going to go to the final cover, the DVD case cover of Anchorman. And this is the one I'm on about. It's, this is the standard DVD I've got here. Maybe a slight variation on it on the side, but basically this is a standard DVD cover. You've got Ron Burgundy sitting at his desk on the news team. He's got some sort of like a glass of some alcoholic beverage with ice in it. He's got no pants on. He's got these long. You can see under the desk, so he's got no pants on. He's got these brown shoes, black socks. And he's just like looking into the camera like, I don't give a crap. I'll do what I want to do. I'm Ron Burgundy. and and then underneath that, you've got on the desk, you've got the Will Ferrell text above in a yellow text. Anchorman's in a yellow, in a white, sorry. Very big, strong, bold font here. And under that, you've got the legend of Ron Burgundy in a yellow colour again. I think it works well. The backdrop, you've got the Channels 4 news team background. I like this cover. I think it works well because it is... I think this is, for me, it's the ultimate cover. It's like, this is the cover you think of when you think of Anchorman, personally. I like this cover. But which one is the winner? Which one is the winner on this edition of Case Cover Collision? Now, this is a hard one because I do like them last two covers, but I've got to go with that rich mahogany Blu-ray release. That steelbook is superb. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a really... never seen it before. I love the fact that we've got a mahogany Blu-ray colour. It looks great. I think the crest looks great. I think it just stands out a bit more. It pops a lot more than even that classic DVD cover. So yeah, the Blu-ray release to me, it's original. It's something different. I think it looked great in displayed in a room. I love it. So that's the Blu-ray of Anchorman on the steelbook is the winner of this week's edition of Case Cover Collision. Now, let's move on with the rest of today's show.
The Amazon Top 10 is approaching. Prepare yourself. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Amazon Top 10 has arrived.
The Amazon Top 10. Each and every episode, I give you the Amazon Top 10, the bestsellers list on Amazon.co.uk for DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K sales. Now, let's start off with number 10 this week, ladies and gents. We have got at number 10, Blazing Saddles, the 50th Anniversary Collector's Edition. Never seen this movie. That is one I'm really looking forward to watching at some point. But Blazing Saddles at number 10. At number 9, we have Wonka on DVD. At number 8, we have the Bob Marley biopic, Bob Marley One Love on DVD. Not seen that yet. I'd be interested to see that as well. Number 7, Oppenheimer on DVD. At number 6, we have Jaws, The Revenge, the Collector's Edition on 4K. And that is at number 6. At number 5, we have another Jaws movie, Jaws 3, the Collector's Edition, 4K release. At number 4, we have The Great Escaper, the new Michael Caine movie. And at number 3, we have Dune Part 2 on 4K. At number 2, we have 4 Part 2 on DVD. And at number 1, shock horror, Dune Part 2 on Blu-ray. Dune taking the top 3, really leading the race. Still not a movie I've checked out, but I will get around to it at some point. But that, my friends, is the Amazon Top 10 for this week. Let's move on to the final segment of today's show. And the final segment of today's show is what is the segment? It is, I forgot what the segment was. It's called Not So Worthy Blockbuster Housekeeping. This is the part of the show where I kind of just finish off the show, talking about what's going on in Movie J Town, what's going on with the YouTube channel, within the community, and just a general chit chat at the end of the show, as always. So, first of all, I want to talk about the last video that I had out on the channel, which was a movie stack and a chat video, came out last week. It was fun movies, just picking out a few movies on there. And yeah, I really enjoyed that, as always. The movie stack and the chat videos are very chilled out. Because sometimes you do the podcast and it's a bit more planning. Whereas movie stack and a chat, it's just grab a few movies from the shelf. Ones you want to talk about, pick a theme, pick a topic, and just go from there. Sorry, I'm picking my nose. I feel like do you know you can see something? On your nose. I feel like I can see like something like there. Like there's probably like a big bogey just hanging out on the nose. I don't care. You know what? I don't care. I'll get some visual effects going on. Get the bogey remover software. I don't think there is one. If there is, I really do apologise. But yeah, it's a great video. I enjoyed doing it. It was fun to do. Like I said, I just get the phone out as well. They're really easy to do. Whereas like I've got the proper camera out now. Get the phone out, just go for it. Talk about some movies, have fun, enjoy it, and that's what I enjoy about it. So that's the last video. If you're not checked out, do check out and let us know your thoughts on it. Your thoughts on them movie choices, ladies and gents. I want to read some comments from the community, from the Movie Cheer community. Well, first of all, this is on the which video was this? This is on the video where I showed the new shelving in my movie room. I've got a few different things coming up with the movie room. Some things I'm going to share, so I'm hopefully going to do some more videos in the movie room soon. Picked up something really cool recently, which I'm looking forward to sharing with you at some point. But yeah, I've got one here from Sean, first of all, Media Collector Madness. Sean's a great member of this community. Been on the channel several times. Great guy, Sean. Top guy. And Sean mentioned like video. Kevin Nash also played the Russian in the Punisher movie. Some great shells. I've got a few Elites and vintage Hasbros. I also collect vintage Transformers and Funkos. I need to organise my room. Cheers for the comment, Sean. Sean was referring to the Kevin Nash wrestling figure, and he played, obviously, Shredder 2 in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 movie, but he also played the Russian in the Punisher movie as well, which I kind of forgot. But yeah, it's a great comment, Sean. And he obviously collects Hasbros and a few Elites as well, which are really cool, and vintage vintage Transformer figures, which is awesome. Next up, we have a comment from Simon Michael Davies. On the same video, he said, "These look great, mate. The mask toy is awesome. Want one myself. I had that Mankind toy as a kid, and the Road Dogg one, long gone now, sadly." Well, I will say that mask toy is one of them beloved pieces of movie memorabilia. I've had it since I was a kid, and I really enjoy it. So thank you very much for the comment, Simon. Definitely let us know if you can pick one of them up. Next up, we have a comment from Ash from Popcorn and Horror. Ash has got some really good videos. Ash has done videos for years, but he's kind of relaunched his channel recently. I've really been enjoying Ash's videos. So if you've not checked it out, Popcorn and Horror, Ash has got a great channel, really good, top guy, really down-to-earth guy, really nice guy. And he's got a great movie collection, and I like hearing his thoughts about movies as well. It's good to hear. Ash said, like the on-road style video there, mate. This was on the Phantom Menace video where I took the camera out, did my thoughts on the Phantom Menace movie after the cinema. Like the on-road style video there, mate. I remember get tongue-tied here. I remember going to the cinema when this first came out with my dad and my mate, who I'm still in regular contact with now. Wow, 25 years, crazy. It is crazy, and honestly, it's surreal that movie was 25 years old this year. It's mad, but appreciate the comment, Ash. It's nice to hear you've had memories of that as well. It's really nice to hear that, and to hear people's thoughts on that movie, to share the memories and share the experiences watching it 25 years later is really cool, I think. Finally, we have a comment from Ben, aka Rider Rated 18, another great contributor to this channel who's been on the channel many a times. Ben, another top guy. Nice to see the initial reaction to in the car, mate. I saw it originally on the big screen back in '99. I was 16, and it's crazy. It's been 25 years. I like the Phantom Menace. It has problems for sure, but what it does well totally outweighs its negatives. 100% agree, Ben. I think it's like I said. I think it's 25. It's definitely it's not a perfect movie. I understand that, but for me, it's still something about it, something special, and it is. And first of all, I really enjoy doing that as well, doing the the videos. And thank you again for the comment from Ben and everyone else as well. Great comments there. I've enjoyed doing them videos in the car. I'm going to do more of them. We're just going to cinema or just instant reactions. I think it's fun. It's something a bit different as well. I enjoy that in the movie cheer mobile. But yeah, what else is coming up in Movie Cheer Town? Quick one, Movie Cheer Fest 2. I did it. We did it like 2 years ago now. I think it was in 2022. We did the first Movie Cheer Fest. Didn't do it last year. I want to do it this year. I've been making plans. I will be sharing some of these plans soon. What I will say, it's probably going to be one night now. It's going to be one video. I'm not going to say too much, but I'm going to put out a video, some videos soon, and there's some. I'll let you know in a few weeks what the dates wise, what's the plans for it. But I will say it's probably going to be one night. Last time I did 2 nights. I think it was a bit too much. So I think one video, an episode of the podcast. It'll be a podcast episode. I won't say any more, but what I want it to be something really memorable, really cool, and I think doing it as a podcast episode really would work for what I've got an idea for. I think it'll be something, nothing too outrageous. I think you probably know what you're probably going to expect from this channel from me, but I'm looking forward to it. Movie Cheer Fest 2 is definitely happening this year, ladies and gents. Even if it's just me on my own, it's happening. It's me. If it's me, Mean Cheer, and any other member of the Movie Cheer family, But I really want to get some people involved in this, and I'm looking forward to sharing some more details of this as the weeks go on. But yeah, Movie Cheer Fest 2 will be happening this year, folks. But anyway, that's it for another episode. If you enjoyed this episode today, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on a podcast app of your choice, please do subscribe to the app and leave a 5-star review and let me know your, send you a link or something of the review and I will read it out on the show as well. But let me know all your thoughts on today's topics in the comments today. What do you think? Movie franchises that need a reboot? What do you think of my choices? What are some movie franchises out there that you would love to see get the reboot treatment? Which ones are some big ones you'd like to see? And let me know all your thoughts on today's topics. The Fall Guy. Did you watch this movie? What did you think of it? Apparently that movie is now getting talk about. They want to create an Oscars category for stunt performers, which I think is awesome. They should definitely do it because that's a hell of a job. How do you get into being a stunt performer? That's a topic. That's a whole topic of conversation we didn't even get into today. That's another podcast episode. Let me know all your thoughts on today's topics, ladies and gents. What was your favourite Anchorman movie cover on Case Cover Collision? What do you think of the Amazon Top 10 this week? Let me know all your thoughts. Thank you for watching today's episode, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer, and as always, I will see you next time.